Welcome back to another episode of All Dad Jazz. My name is Giovanni, your host. And a lot's been going down these past several weeks. As I mentioned before, my parents did come over from Chicago, USA, to stay with me and my family for the past 3 weeks. And it's been a wonderful time. So if you already follow me on my Facebook page, you will know that I'm hosting my first guest on the show. Without further ado, my dad.
Hello, everyone.
So in today's topic, we're just basically be highlighting everything that we've done together as a family, as well as give some insight to a man that's been a father for 34 years and a grandfather for almost 5. So let's get into it. So you and Mom arrived here, and it was actually really exciting. It was her third visit, but your very first. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah. Super exciting.
And have you ever been to Asia before?
Never. First time. And super exciting. The minute we landed, I was just in awe. And just the environment and everything else that came with it. Super excited. I mean, down to the last 2 hours upon approach, I couldn't wait to land and just get started on the adventure. And of course, to see you and the kids, Soyoung, of course, and so forth.
Now, anybody who has ever visited Korea knows, well, depending where you've flown from, it's a pretty lengthy flight. It's very lengthy. For those that don't know, at least from Chicago, it took about, what was it, around 13,
14 hours. Yeah.
14 hours.
14 hours.
So kind of let that sink in, everybody, especially if you have kids. If you're a father, have 2, 3, multiple kids, traveling anywhere for more than maybe 2 hours, it's just a pain in the butt, yet alone 14 hours.
You guys did it multiple times, so.
So I have to ask, what are your first impressions of Korea, just in general? We could talk about food, we could talk about culture, maybe some things that have surprised you while you were here.
I mean, overall, I think they cater to the children here, right? I mean, if you look at the lay of the land, I haven't seen more playground. There's a playground every 5 feet. And, I mean, the walking trails and everything else here in Korea, it's just catered to the children and family. They embrace family here, and it's very obvious. Not only that, the food is fantastic. People overall shy, yeah, and I get that, right? Super shy, but at the same time, super friendly in their way. Not being able to speak any Korean by any means, yet there's an unspoken language amongst everyone here. You can see there's a friendly face despite that. And I know that firsthand, only because I tried to... I was my granddaughter's taxi driver via bike.
I'm so glad you're bringing this up. I was actually going to bring this up.
Yeah,
Good.
via bike for the time I've been here, and loved every second of it. I remember the first time I went out, well, Giovanni, of course, was navigating the ways, and I followed. And then, of course, we ended up going to Jeju Island. So a week had passed since I attempted the ride on my own. You went through every single point saying, Dad, are you sure you can do it? Yeah, I can do it. Okay, you mapped it up for me and everything else. And then what did I do? The very first thing I did is stepped out the front door and made the wrong turn, leaving the house.
That's right. Yeah, he went out the south gate when he should have went north.
Right. But, it was an adventure.
That was the first mistake.
It was.
The second mistake was the silliest. Go ahead, talk about the second mistake you did.
Which one was that?
When you encountered the man on the corner.
Yes. So I seen this elderly gentleman, and I said, excuse me, but where can I find Ilsan Station? So he pointed in the direction opposite of where I was going. I said, no, that's not right. It's over here, I've been here a couple weeks. I know.
There's a local who's probably been living here his whole life.
Probably. He must have been 70 plus years of age.
Right. So long story short, I'm waiting for my daughter to get to school, at least by 9:30. That way she can have snack time and kind of unwind before her classes start. And time's just ticking, and I'm thinking, where the hell's my father? Where's my daughter? What's taking so long? I'm messaging my wife, what time did Dad leave? He's not here yet. And she responded, he's not there? I'm like, no, did he get lost? He must have. And so what happens is finally, my dad sends me a picture of a Mega Coffee in Korea, saying, I'm here at a Mega Coffee. Now, obviously, people here living in Korea know that there's a Mega Coffee on every corner.
Like a Starbucks or a
throughout
McDonald's,
the entire
right?
country, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I knew right away that wasn't going to help me. And it was just a pain in the butt because every time we would try to reach each other over Kakao Talk, which is their messaging service, He was relying on unstable Wi-Fi. He didn't properly connect. He didn't go to any 5 cafes or on each block to kind of just hop on their free Wi-Fi. But when all was said and done, 10, 15 minutes later, we were able to figure it out. I knew exactly where he was once we actually FaceTimed, and he got to school 15 minutes late. Wasn't too bad. No, nobody really cared about that. But I just thought that was pretty funny.
I forget it this way: if you're gonna get lost in Korea.
Mm-hmm.
It's super safe here. It truly is,
Yeah.
and it's an adventure.
No real serious threats here. One of the safest places. There are no guns. Guns are strictly prohibited. Hard drugs like that, obviously, that's a big no-no. You'll be imprisoned for life, possibly maybe executed. No, I'm just kidding. This isn't China. But little things like that. What are your thoughts about, I know I touched base on this on another episode. I'm sorry. I touched base on this in a previous podcast I was a part of, for Fuman Wan. We talked about the do's and don'ts in Korea. And one of them was drinking and driving and how that's a big no-no. What were your thoughts on that when I told you?
I mean, that's pretty intense, and everybody abides by it. I mean, we went out for dinner. Actually, it was a lunch, right?
It was a lunch
It was a lunch.
to meet my brother-in-law and sister-in-law.
Right. So
That's
it was a brunch. So it was early in the day-ish, and yeah. So everybody, with the exception of me, had drove. So we were there, and they, of course, the first thing was, do you want mekchu? Mekchu is Korean for beer.
That's right. He learned a couple words again.
Absolutely.
He learned a couple things.
Beer being one.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so it was, so yeah, of course I said yes. I had the opportunity to do so, but then we offered Giovanni's father-in-law, and he said, no, I'm driving, I can't. And ditto for his brother-in-law, right?
Mm-hmm.
Giovanni's brother-in-law, and he said the same. So yeah, they honor it, and I get that. And for the simple sake, that's where we kind of lack in the U.S. I think that's something we could embrace, and there'd be a lot of less deaths per year, via car accidents due to alcoholism. But yeah, total respect. I mean, that's hard to do. I mean, I think because a lot of the food here is it pairs nicely with a nice good beer or whatnot, or was it mekchu? That's the other one.
Soju.
Soju
And mekju.
Yep. So total respect for that. That's again. That was new to me.
It kind of just seems impossible to have any type of Korean food without alcohol to accompany it. Especially because the Korean beer is just so light. It's really light. Soju, I just don't play around with it too much. For me, it kind of just tastes like, not like peroxide, but like it just has like that burning sensation when you drink
Penicillin
it.
type of thing.
It's awful.
Yeah.
To me.
Unless you pair it
To
with
each his own.
another beer of some sort to kind of mask it. But other than that, yeah, I feel the same way. I'm not a huge fan. But it's super popular here.
My dad and I were big fans of wine. If you
Yes.
are a wine drinker yourself, it's not very common to have wine with your food. It doesn't really match. It really doesn't go hand in hand. You can't have a nice Merlot with like a sundae-guk. It just wouldn't make sense.
No.
Wine has yet to kind of make a scene on the Korean Peninsula. Unless obviously if you're having like Western dining, French, Italian, things like that. Obviously you can order a bottle of wine. For me, I'm kind of a stickler when it comes to red wine. I don't like it chilled. In every single restaurant, 9 times out of 10, they bring you a chilled bottle of wine, and I can't do it. I find myself having to cup the sides of the glass just to warm it up using the heat of my hands, and I just kind of make a big stink about it. But that's just for another episode we'll talk about.
Yeah.
What I actually wanted to jump into, since again this is called All Dad Jazz, we do talk about being a father. I kind of wanted to talk about life before marriage. Now, you and Mom, you've been married for about 36 years now?
36 years? Yes.
36 years, that's a long time.
Yes,
That's
it
a really
is.
long
It's a
time.
few weekends.
That's a few Yeah, my wife and I, we've been married. We'll be going on 5 years. 5 years this September. My wife and I, we were only together for about 6 months. I think 6 months before I proposed. No. 5 months, excuse me. Yep, met in December, got engaged on Mother's Day in May of 2018. I'm sure you and Mom were together much longer. Is that right?
Yes, we were. About 4 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. See, I didn't know that.
Yeah. At school, college, right? And
Mhm.
then we kind of took a summer apart, so to speak, right? I went off to Texas, I think it was, for the summer.
Okay.
And then I ended up coming back and then kind of reconnected. And then, 4 years had passed since. And then we decided to get engaged and, married. And of course.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, sure.
I had no idea.
Yeah, yeah.
So you guys just wanted a break, kind of?
Well, just, for the most part, because we were good friends, for the most part in school. It was
Uh-huh.
nothing serious. We had I had asked her for lunch. She accepted, but at the same time, there was no commitment.
Right.
And then, yeah, I think she even had a boyfriend off and on at the time. So again, just a friend.
Uh-huh.
And then so I off to Texas for again the summer. But then I just said, called me back home to Chicago. And again, everything happens for a reason. So I got home, and then sure enough, called her up after about a month being home, and just wanted to ask her out for a date, and she accepted, and off we went from there.
So you didn't connect at all while you're in Texas because they didn't have texting or
Right.
internet then, right?
Way
No
before
letters?
that. When you weren't home, right? So
Sure, yeah.
yeah. So
sure.
it was kind of those things back then.
Wow.
So yeah, so that's how it went. So yeah, there was zero communication between at that time. But yeah, that's, hey, that's just what it is. When it's meant to be, it's meant to be.
Sure.
Yeah. So yeah,
Wow.
it's been our life.
That's nice.
Mm-hmm.
And so after you guys got married, obviously, when did you realize that you wanted to have your first child? Was it planned?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say plan, but at the same time, it was kind of like we were married. 2 years after? Yeah, 2 years after we were married, 2.5 years. You came along, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, we were super happy when we got the news. It was kind of one of these things where a lot of her friends and things were getting married and having children.
Oh, boy.
So again,
Yeah.
It wasn't one of these things where, hey, we want to be part of the pack.
Sure,
None
sure.
of that.
Okay.
But it was more like it's that time of year, it's that time of life, right?
Okay.
So yeah, but no, not necessarily planned, but yet not a huge surprise.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you know the real story of when we found out. Our first daughter, Sophina, she wasn't planned. We actually were planning our wedding that year. And that alone was a lot of pressure. I don't know if you were involved with your wedding planning at all. I mean, obviously you were part of our wedding planning. It just seemed, I don't want to say overkill, but I just felt like I just wanted something just small.
Yeah.
If I could have just had my way, I would have just done like a nice travel wedding.
Right.
At least like in Florence somewhere.
Yeah.
Just something nice.
That was beautiful there.
It's breathtaking.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we had all this kind of going on. And, at this time, So Young was kind of feeling homesick a lot. This is her first time kind of living anywhere outside Korea because we were in Chicago at this time, I should note. And it was just kind of just one thing after another. And then when we found out, obviously she was just really excited. I kind of wish I shared that same emotion, but I was actually the opposite. I was afraid. I was really terrified. I wasn't angry, but I was just kind of upset because I just felt like all this pressure was just on me. Like, we can't have kids now. We're planning for a wedding. I wanted at least, because I'm kind of selfish. I was very selfish. And automatically I thought, here, this is a world traveler who just came home. He wanted to start a life. He wanted to do all this planning, go on a nice honeymoon, and maybe take his wife all over the place. And I knew this was just going to just end all that. And I couldn't see it that way at the time. So I remember just like collapsing into a ball on the floor, like, I'm not ready. I can't do this. I can't be a father yet. And to this day, like, my wife just gets really pissed at my reaction. And I feel terrible because I don't know what I would do without my daughter now. Like, I'm so glad she's here. Like, I have no regrets about it at all whatsoever. There's a whole lifetime to travel and see the world. Like, none of that matters. And it just took me a while for me to realize that. And I don't know if you recall the time that we actually surprised you and Mom. It was Mother's Day again, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, something's only
crazy.
going down on a Mother's Day. You want to tell the story?
No, but I love the way you kind of introduce it to us, right?
I'm a big fan of surprises.
Yeah.
I love secrets. My wife, on the other hand, does not like secrets. So when I asked her, hey, can we please just keep this to ourselves? Don't tell Mom and Dad. I'm going to prepare this big surprise for everybody. We're going to have all of our grandmothers there in attendance. I want it to be big. I want the reaction to be priceless. Thankfully, she went along with it. Do you want to tell the rest of the story?
Yeah, I mean, the best of my memory, right? It was really nice the way they did it. We went out for Mother's Day brunch at a restaurant, a gorgeous patio setting. So kind of just setting this the environment for the next words here. But so they had presented Lisa, my wife, with a scratch pad, right? Scratch card.
Yeah, it was like one of those like fake lottery cards,
right?
lottery scratch cards. Yeah.
So yeah, it was oversized in nature, right? So anyways, she was scratching along, skirting along, and you are going to be something. What did it say?
Yeah, Mom was scratching it as it went along. You scratch like 3 things. It says, oh, you win a prize. Scratch the grand prize section. And as she's scratching it, we're talking in the background. It's slowly revealing we're having a baby.
That's it. Yes.
And as mom is scratching it away, she's just saying like, no, no. And she's scratching faster, no, no, no. And she's like, ah. And she starts jumping up, like, ah, waving her
And of course-
hands around. And I stand up and I shout at the top of my lungs, I'm like, you're going to be a grandma. And the whole place, everybody on the balcony just started to applaud.
I mean, everybody.
Everybody started
Probably
applauding.
100 people there were all in on just applauding on
Oh,
behalf of
sure.
everybody.
It really was just a magical moment. And,
Super nice.
And Ma started to cry. You started to cry. I started to
I
cry.
lost it. We all
And
lost
then
it.
you
Yeah.
stood up. You're like, bottles of champagne. Let's
Yeah,
go. It's
crazy.
a celebration. And it was like the coolest. It was the coolest moment.
I remember his grandma saying, I don't know how many bottles this guy was bringing, but I don't know what you tipped him, but he deserved
It
it.
just kept coming. It just kept coming and coming.
Such a great time, though.
That was really fun.
Yeah.
That was a really fun time.
And the party continued back at our place, remember?
Yep. And then we called my brother. We
Yeah.
let him know that he was going to be an uncle.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a damn good memory.
It really was.
Yeah.
Amazing time.
So let's fast forward, all these years later. I have 2 kids now. Again, we just revealed I have younger brothers, so you raised 2 sons yourself. Did you ever want a daughter? Did you always know
did.
that 2 was going to be your final number, or did you ever
we
want?
didn't always think that
No?
for the most part. We thought, boy, girl, much like you were blessed with.
Sure.
So, but, at the same time, we said, we'll take what the good Lord gives us, right? Well,
Mhm.
if it's 2 boys, it's 2 boys, and that's what we decided. But yeah, we always would have loved a daughter, but we got that so young, right?
Sure.
So it's, we received it anyway. We still won.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, and then with, Safina being, just the beautiful little granddaughter that she is, and little Giano. So,
Mm-hmm.
no, still blessed, and we're grateful for what we have
Yeah.
today.
What would you say was probably one of your biggest obstacles you faced as a young father? Did you have any obstacles? Maybe 1 kid versus 2 kids? Was there anything that kind of you just felt like, gosh, like sometimes the world could just be too much at times?
No, I mean, I got to say, you guys, you and your brother Fabian as young babies were easy for me, and your mother, I mean, you were really easy, I mean, for the most part. Don't get me wrong, I'm a brand new father, everyone's scared, no one's ready for father, I don't care what you say, you're never ready for fatherhood.
Mm-hmm.
You become ready, right? And that's kind of what it is, and everything went well, right? And then for the most part, I mean, for me, I think at the time I was in retail, and then I was working 80-hour weeks. And the thing that hit me most was the fact that I wasn't home as much. And then when I ended up leaving retail and going into the corporate world, and I started to travel.
I remember that.
Right? Remember that? And
Yeah.
so every little city I went to, I did all these little tchotchkes back home to you guys.
Yeah.
Little keychains.
Yep.
So I try to make fun for it. But if anything, it's just, if I had any regrets, it's just I wish I traveled a little less.
Mhm.
But at the same time, you saw I gave you guys quality time the minute I got home. We
Yeah.
play our basketball games and all that. Right?
Yeah.
But
We used to make home videos.
right.
I remember that. We used to have home. I'm going to start crying now just thinking about it.
Put the chef hats and all that.
Yeah. We used to make home videos, and then
Yeah.
we had a little tent.
Yeah.
And we used to have we'd do camping nights in tents. Or yeah, we'd play the cheap scoreboard on the door that would hang on the door.
Right.
I remember that.
Yeah.
No, we had the biggest room in their first home they were
You
bought
did?
in Elmwood Park.
Your
Yeah,
house
Fabi
is
and I.
bigger now?
Maybe it was big because I was so small.
No.
It felt like it was huge.
You guys had the bigger room than we had, than our room, and we had
Yeah.
the master room.
Yeah.
We gave you that on purpose.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the quality. It's not the quantity of time.
Sure.
So you just, much like you. I mean, you're an amazing father. You really do. You and so young. Your parents are amazing. As we sit here for the past couple of weeks, we see it firsthand. Right.
Yeah.
Your world is the children, and it shows. And you guys are great. And so you're doing the same thing plus everything we did. Right. So kudos to you both.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Well, now I gotta ask. So now that we do have kids, you're a grandfather now, and how does that compare to being a dad? How do you like being a grandfather?
I
Or
mean,
do you
I love
notice
it.
any differences?
It's like a backseat dad, so to speak, right?
Kind of.
Kind
Yeah.
of, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, but at the same time, the love is double because
Mhm.
it's you love your children to death. Now you've got your product of your children's
Uh-huh.
there, so of course you love them, quadruply. So that's how I look at it, right? So every time I see Gianno, I see you.
Mm-hmm.
I see Safina. Of course, you never had a daughter, but I still see you because she still emulates you.
She's all me.
She is
Attitude,
attitude,
the angry faces,
not a
the
morning
ears.
person.
Yeah. She's not a morning person at all. She doesn't wake up with, like Gianno does, just ready to
Gianno's
go. He's all his mom.
Mr.
right?
Sunshine
He's Mr. Sunshine.
wakes up with a
For
smile.
Sophie gradually needs like the first 3 to 4 hours to herself in the morning, like a morning reflection, right?
Right.
Self-reflection time.
Yeah, it's definitely a gift, and we're blessed. Really are. And we're blessed to have fellow, in-laws, right? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, in your case, they're beautiful people, caring people. So, I mean, you couldn't ask for more. Anything any parent wants is just for their sons, daughters to be just well, and that you are. So we feel content because of it. We feel like we won because you won,
Mm.
and vice versa, right?
Right.
Yeah. And we look forward to the day that eventually, if you do decide to come back to the States, then we look forward to finally being together as a family again with a brother, right? Because it's
Right.
been, since 2012? We haven't been together as a family?
All living together in the same state?
Right.
Or just together? Yeah.
In the
More or
same
less.
state.
Probably about 2000.
11?
Maybe.
Yeah.
'Cause I know I just graduated by that time.
So it's been a
It was doing
bit.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, so we look forward to that day.
And as a grandfather, having a son that's married to, a Korean, a
Mhm.
Korean national, somebody who's in a culturally different interracial marriage,
Mhm.
I'm sure it hurts having to share grandkids across the world, right?
Of course it does.
Of course it does, but obviously
Yeah.
now the world is a smaller place with Zoom and technology, I'm sure it doesn't really affect us that much.
As much. I mean, it
Right.
still hurts. Yes, it's killer. It's killer. I'm not going to lie.
I mean, it's
killer.
awful not seeing each other for, we saw you, 6 months ago when we came to
Right.
visit Chicago, but prior to that,
Right.
when was the last time we were together?
What was it?
20,
Probably a couple of years, yeah?
right?
when-
Because I left, the girls left first in 2020, so by that
Right.
time it was already 3 years, or
Right.
2.5 years by that time.
Yeah.
So that kind of, it's
It does hurt, but at the same time, you can't be sad, but you got to be just happy that we were together, and be grateful that we can do it,
Mm-hmm.
We're in a
Yeah.
position to do it.
Right.
That means a lot,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, fortunately, technology. If it wasn't for, if it was back in the old days when I was
Sure.
growing up and you had to rely on a letter or something crazy like that, it would be horrid,
Mm-hmm.
But fortunately, to all the genius minds out there to make it, possible to do what we do in terms of Zoom or Kakao and things of that nature, it's a blessing,
Really is. And just kind of one final note, if there's anything that you would kind of suggest maybe for dads that are expecting their first child or dads with newborns, do you have any advice for them? Because I don't know about you, I'm a bookworm and I'm a planner. And as you mentioned before, you can't really plan for fatherhood. It just happens. You just kind of go with the flow. I must have read maybe every single book there was. But I feel like in the end, it just did not help. So, I mean, for me, I don't really recommend it. I read, what to expect when you're expecting for dads or, hey, dude, you're going to be a dad. It wasn't for me. I didn't feel like it appealed to me.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? What's the best advice you can give to new dads?
You just love your children, and for the most part, we're always gonna, there's gonna be some rainy days. These kids are gonna wake up cranky, crabby. You may lose your job along the way. Life may happen along the way, but you know what? You just fall on 9 times, you get up 10, and you just keep pushing, keep giving. As far as the kids, they're always listening, they're always watching. So just remember that, and try to be the best example for them, regardless. In terms of the way you treat them, others around you. Honestly, they're watching, and at the same time, just show them, be the best role model for them, and just don't give up. Just keep pushing, and just remember the whole reason you were blessed to have those children, to you. Honestly, it's as simple as that. You just gotta keep pushing.
Sound advice
Yeah.
from a father of 36 years. 36 years.
Yes.
Wonderful. Well, I think it's safe to say that we can end the episode here. It's been a pleasure having my mom and dad here with my family. They do leave tomorrow back to the U.S., another long 14-hour flight, but they don't have kids with them, so they can just read or watch movies, take a nap,
Right.
and enjoy their solitude, I guess. Enjoy their peace and quiet. So,
Yeah.
no, they earned it. They worked hard raising my brother and I. So,
No, but at the same time, it's been a memorable trip. I'm glad that we were come out and visit. I enjoyed every second of it. Yeah, it's a little busier than what I'm accustomed to. Glass of wine sitting on the couch, right?
Sure.
But
yeah.
I loved every second of it. It was great seeing the kids, you and so young. And I look forward to the day again that we're back together again for the longer times.
Absolutely. Hopefully, maybe by next Thanksgiving.
Right.
I'm thinking next Thanksgiving, if all goes well, once I do return home next year, I'll make my way out with Fabian. So,
Yeah.
cool. Well, if you have listened this far, I do thank you. Thank you for following me and listening each week. If you haven't already, check out all my socials, which can be found on my Linktree. Will give you access to my Facebook page, Instagram, as well as my YouTube channel, where I upload every single episode. Give me some likes, and as always, stay tuned for next week. Thank you so much for listening. Goodbye.
Ciao.